Welcome to another video program from the ongoing Modern Masters School of Decorative Painting instructional video series, Shimmerstone. In this program, our certified instructors will teach you step-by-step how to create some of the most popular finishes that can be achieved using Modern Masters Shimmerstone, a trowel-applied architectural coating that produces beautiful stone effects with luminous undertones. So now let's get started with our Modern Masters instructors, Lori Lemaire and Joe Sines.
Hello, my name is Lori Lemaire, and I'm a professional decorative painter and a certified instructor for Modern Masters.
And I'm Joe Sines, technical director and instructor for Modern Masters Decorative Painting Workshops.
We're here at Modern Masters facility, and we're going to teach you how to create some beautiful effects using a new and exciting product by Modern Masters. It's called Shimmerstone. Shimmerstone is a trowel-applied architectural coating. What makes it unique is that it always shimmers. It's a full-bodied, mica-based coating, and you can see that there's a pearlescent quality to it. So each application will always have luminous undertones to it. There's one untinted base and 15 tubes of color concentrates. It's very easy to tint, and what makes it even easier, Modern Masters supplies a Shimmerstone color deck. Each swatch has an actual product sample representing 90 hues of the 15 color concentrates. On the back of the swatch are the formulas. To tint the Shimmerstone, follow the instructions on the back of the color swatch. You can use everyday household measuring spoons. I've chosen the darkest color of Passion Plum, and the formula is to add 2 tubes of colorant into 1 gallon of Shimmerstone. The containers are all oversized to make it easy to tint. Make sure you mix in the tint thoroughly, and then you're ready to start your project. I'm going to show you a basic monochromatic finish called Tone on Tone. However, before you start, you have to prepare your surface. Shimmerstone has great adhesion and will stick to a lot of surfaces. However, I recommend you prime your surface first, which I've already done here. I've used Zinsser Bullseye 123 Deep Tint, and I've tinted the primer using the same colorant that I used to color the first application of Shimmerstone. Once the primer is dry, just check your surface and make sure that you don't have any raised bumps on it. If you do, you need to knock those off. You just use a scraper. And once that's done, you're ready for your first application. So you can load up your trowel. Just want to put the Shimmerstone on one side of your trowel and skim it onto the surface. So you don't need to put too much on the surface. It's a fairly thin coat. So any texture that you actually get in this stage is going to show up in your next application. You're holding the trowel fairly low to the surface. It's not a very high angle. And you're pulling it fairly tightly. Not so tight like you're patching a hole though. You're putting a very small amount of texture in this stage. Make sure that you don't get any trowel marks in there. Modern Masters stainless steel trowels are made so that they have these beveled edges, which helps prevent from getting any trowel marks. Now your first stage is finished. You can let that dry under normal conditions about an hour, and then you're ready for your next step. My first coat of Shimmerstone is dry and it's ready to receive the second application. It's going to be the same color but a lighter tone. I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of Passion Plum into 1 gallon of Shimmerstone, but I've actually already mixed it up in a quart here. So you would divide the formula by 4. That would be 3/4 of a teaspoon into 1 quart. Load up your trowel, just like you did before. And now you're going to do another skim coat, but you really want to pull this one tight. You don't want any texture on here. You're just filling in any of the recesses or textures that was left behind in the first application. So put it on and scrape it off. And you're using a lot of pressure. Now, you may need to clean off the excess Shimmerstone every now and then. If it starts to dry on here, you can just scrape it off with a putty knife. And if it is dry, you want to throw it in the garbage can. And also, you got to keep your trowel clean all the time. So use a scrub pad and some water just to clean it, and then come back and reapply it. Make sure that you're filling in all the areas. You don't want to have any misses. Now you might have some small tight spots that you need to get into, and there you can use a smaller putty knife to get into those areas. Maybe the corner of the wall, the edge of the room. And just scrape off any trowel marks that you've got on there, any excess Shimmerstone that might be on the surface. Now it's not dry yet. It's almost dry, but you can already see the shimmer and the luminous undertones that the Shimmerstone has. Once you finish this application, let it dry. It's very durable. There's no sanding. There's no burnishing. It's done. I'm going to show you another simple technique. This one's called positive layered stone. And it looks like there's a lot of colors in it, but actually there's only 2 Shimmerstone colors, and the third color is in the primer. I've tinted this primer with Shimmerstone Blue Velvet, and the first coat of Shimmerstone I've tinted to Antique Linen. It's 1/2 teaspoon of Antique Linen to 1 gallon of Shimmerstone. Now this time I'm not going to put a skim coat on first. I'm actually going to put a texture onto the surface. And I'm going to use Modern Masters 6-inch Sea Sponge roller. It's a great way to get texture onto your surface quickly. And it's made with real sea sponge. First thing you need to do is dampen it and squeeze out the water. You don't want to have it too wet, just a little bit damp. And this is a positive technique, so we're going to load up the roller with the Shimmerstone. Make sure it's all covered on your roller. And roll it on just randomly. Because of the way that the roller's been manufactured, you can get a really great random pattern. So keep reloading it. And you're covering maybe about 75% of your surface. So now while this is wet, you want to come back with your trowel and you want to knock down the peaks. You have to make sure that it's a very, very light pressure that you're using. Otherwise, you're going to force all the Shimmerstone down flat and you're going to create a skim coat. So just keep the trowel at a slight angle, but use very minimal pressure. Just quickly knock down the Shimmerstone, moving across the whole surface. Now make sure that you keep cleaning off your trowel because you're picking up a little bit of Shimmerstone. It's going to start to dry. So once you have it all knocked down, you need to let that dry for 1 to 2 hours, and then you're ready for your next step. Okay, my first coat is dry. It's ready for the second coat, and this time I'm going to use chocolate raspberry. And the formula, if you're tinting a gallon, is 1 tablespoon chocolate raspberry into a gallon of shimmer stone. Here I've got it mixed up in a quart. It's the same application. You just want to load up your trowel, and then you're going to put it on in a skim coat manner. You're really using a lot of pressure when you are applying the skim coat. You're putting it on, and then you're scraping it all off. Put it on, scrape it off. So when you're putting it on, you don't have that much pressure, but when you're scraping it off, you're using a lot of pressure. Almost like patching a hole. Make sure that you're, again, filling in all the recesses, not missing any areas. Reload your trowel. And keep going. Using the trowel, you can actually cover quite a lot of area very quickly. You just need to practice your technique a little bit. With a little practice, you'll find that your trowel is very easy to use. Now you can start to see what the texture will look like in the overall finish. So the way you apply the texture in the first coat determines the overall look. So you actually have a lot of leeway how you do it. You can actually cover more area with the roller knockdown or cover less area. It's up to you. All right, and just look over the whole thing, see if you need to scrape off any more areas. When you're finished, just let it dry for about an hour, and it's complete. You don't need to seal it. It's incredibly durable, and there's no sanding or burnishing. I want to tell you what's unique about Modern Masters stainless steel trowels. There are 2 sizes, an 8-inch and a 9-inch. Each blade is shaped in a trapezoid. The bottom of it is wider to carry more product. The top of it is a little narrower to get into tight corners. The handle is covered with rubber, so it's a very comfortable grip. The edges are beveled and the corners are rounded, and that prevents trowel marks. For the next technique, it's going to be a very similar one to the last one, but a little bit more advanced. It's called negative layered stone. For this technique, we're using 4 colors. The first color is in the primer. We use Martini Olive. Then we're using 3 colors of shimmer stone. For the first stage, we're using black sapphire, and the formula is 2 tablespoons of colorant into 1 gallon of shimmer stone, and Pebble Beach, 1 tablespoon of colorant into 1 gallon of shimmer stone. So Joe is going to demonstrate the first technique, and he's going to use his 9-inch trowel as a hawk. He's going to load both colors onto the hawk. We're going to put both colors on at the same time, wet into wet. You just want to make sure you've got the colors mixed separately. So he's taking the lightest color and troweling it on, creating a little bit of texture. And then he's taking the darker color and troweling right into the wet mixture. You have to make sure you don't put these colors on in separate areas, on dry areas. If you do, you're going to get hard edges. You want to make sure you take one color and work into the wet color. Now he's creating a little bit of a of texture with the trowel, but we're actually going to put the texture in with the Sea Sponge roller. And we're going to do that while this coat is wet. So you want to cover about 3 feet by 3 feet. And then you're going to come back in with the roller. So you kind of want to make a random pattern with the color. For this technique, we actually have about 50% black sapphire to 50% Pebble Beach. You can leave some areas negative, showing the background color, which is Martini Olive, through the shimmer stone. Now you want to make sure you put this on a little heavier than before so that you can create texture in it with the roller. If there's not enough product on the surface, you're not going to create much texture. Joe's holding the trowel at a fairly low angle. He's not using a lot of pressure so that he can get a good amount of shimmer stone onto the surface. You don't need to worry too much about trowel marks at this point because you're going to take them out with a roller. So here, instead of loading up the roller with product, we're actually going to take away the product using the dampened Sea Sponge roller and rolling into it to create recessed areas or pitted areas, which really resemble stone. You just want to roll it back and forth randomly. You've got to make sure that you do this before the shimmer stone starts to set up. You can really cover a lot of area before you need to wash off the Sea Sponge roller. It doesn't pick up too much product. It's just leaving a texture in the surface. Now, once you've got your texture in there, you can move on and do your next section. If you find that the edge of your first section has dried and you're having problems working into it, you really should let it dry completely, then come back into it and work right over top of it. Now you don't have to knock down the peaks that are created by rolling the roller into the shimmer stone. If you try to knock them down, you might just end up removing all the texture in there. And you really want to have a lot of texture so it's going to show up with the next application. So once you've finished your area, you want to let that dry for about 1 to 2 hours. The second and last step is a skim coat. We're going to use 2 colors again. The first color is Pebble Beach, but it's the same formula that we used for the first coat. The second color is Wet Concrete. And the formula is 2 tablespoons of colorant into 1 gallon of shimmer stone. So again, Joe will load up his hawk. He's going to start off with the darkest color, which is the Wet Concrete. He's going to pull it through very tightly. Again, this is a skim coat, so he's just filling in the texture that he put in the first coat. Now, while that color is wet, he's going to come back with a lighter color and go right into the wet shimmer stone. Again, you don't want to put these colors on dry areas separately. You want to work them into one another, wet on wet. So he's putting it on and then scraping it off. You can see he's using a lot of pressure. When you're applying the shimmer stone, you can hold the trowel at a lower angle so that you're filling in all the texture, and come back at a slight angle, hard pressure, and scrape off the excess shimmer stone. You do have the option of putting these colors on separately. You could put the darkest color on first, let it dry, come back with the second color, but it's much quicker to put them both on at the same time. And putting both colors on separately won't give you a nice blended movement that you're going to get putting them on wet. Now you don't have to stick with putting the darkest color on first and working the lightest into it. You can vary it as well. Put the lightest color on, work the darkest color into it. You've got lots of control, and you can use your own creativity in this. So when you're scraping off the excess amount of shimmer stone, you're actually revealing the highest points of the texture that you put in the first coat. And it looks very much like stone. So once you've completed the whole area and you've got the colors the way you want them, you're actually finished. And it looks like a very advanced technique, but it's actually still only 2 steps. Once it's dry, it's completely finished. Again, it's very durable. You don't need to top coat it with any sealer. It's water resistant and mold and mildew resistant and completely scrubbable.
The next finish I'm going to show you is rusted shimmer stone, which is a combination of shimmer stone as well as our Metal Effects reactive paints and activators. The surface for this I've already prepared by rolling out 2 coats of Metal Effects iron paint and allowing it to completely dry. The mixture for this is 2 tablespoons of Martini olive added into 1 gallon of shimmer stone mixed thoroughly. The next step, I would take 12 ounces of Metal Effects iron paint and add this to the same mixture, again mixing thoroughly. To begin this finish, I'm going to load my hock, the mixture. Now with this finish, as I'm troweling, you want to trowel tighter to allow the iron paint to come through the surface, as opposed to previously we were trying to cover the surface with a skim coat. This you want to have tight, and we're going to leave open areas to allow that iron to be activated with the rust activator. As I'm doing this, I'll trowel down in a vertical motion, allowing those areas to remain broken like the rust has been eating through the finish. I'm going to continue on through my whole surface, not trying to control the balance of how many highs and lows. You want it to just look like a natural finish has been eaten up. Once you've troweled your entire surface, allow this to dry for 1 hour. The next step in this finish, I'll be activating the iron particles using the Metal Effects Rust Activator. Prior to applying the rust activator, you want to make sure to mask off your surrounding areas to avoid any kind of staining. As I'm applying the rust activator, Shimmerstone is water resistant, so as I'm applying the rust activator, I will be stippling in using our Modern Masters block stippler, so it works into the surface. You want to be sure to spray all the area, because you will be coming back to stipple it. You want a nice uniform coat on there. As you can see on the surface, the rust activator is now starting to bead up in certain areas. This is where I'm going to concentrate with my stippling so that I know I can work into that area so I get a nice uniform activation. I'm going back now to see the spots that are noticeable where I missed, and I'm going to repeat the same process. After you finish this step, allow this to dry about 5 or 10 minutes and repeat the process. Once you're done with that process, allow it to dry completely. It's been about 4 hours now, and as you can see, the iron paint has naturally oxidized into a rust finish. This is a natural rust finish and will continue to change over time.
We've just shown you a few of the many techniques you can learn at any of the Modern Masters certified training centers. For Modern Masters, I'm Lori Lemaire.
And I'm Joe Sines.
Thank you for watching.
For more information and certified training locations, visit modernmasters.com.